Coming to you from a wrong turn off Route 66. Somewhere in the Sonoran Desert, it's James Out West.
Good evening, Phoenix and friends. Let me talk to you. James Out West on this beautiful and cold and rainy and cloudy April Fool's Day the 1st, 2024. As always, in studio with me, Pat the Stat Guy, Aaron on the other side of the glass. We got Suns basketball going. It is electric in the valley. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Right on. Well, as always, we go around the room. We talk about, what happened on the weekend that we end up cutting and putting on the YouTube. But before we do that, Patrick, tell the folks at home and around the world what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah, so again, it's one of those times of year where we got 4 sports going on, a lot of news. So we're going to start off with the MLB first week wrapped up. Some teams still undefeated. The Diamondbacks starting out really hot. Then we're going to get into the NCAA tournament, some storylines there. And NC State upsetting Duke. We're going to talk about this women's game that just ended, Iowa versus LSU. Then we're going to get into the NFL. We've got some off-season updates, and then I know you wanted to kind of look ahead and talk about potential revenge games coming up this season.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're going to end the night again with some NBA. I know you wanted to talk about what LeBron had a big game.
He did. A lot of people had big games.
A lot of people had big games. Wemby, Jalen Brunson, a lot of guys. So, some more NBA news and stats and all that fun stuff.
Right on. All right, so let's jump into baseball.
Yeah.
So we had, obviously, the first week has come and gone. Some places it was wet, rainy. Some things were expected. I mean, I think, people were worried about the Yankees with their injuries and everything, and all they did was come out, and they were basically undefeated. Or not basically, they are undefeated until tonight. We'll see what happens. They're playing. They're playing. There's some Diamondbacks here.
Everyone's pleasantly happy, or not surprised, but everyone's happy with Juan Soto over there in New York right now. He had a couple good assists from the outfield, some big throws at the end of games to win. So everyone's loving it so far. All the Yankees fans, I'm sure, are really high on this season. They're all gonna win the World Series in their mind, I'm sure. At this
Some
point.
of them remember
Juan Soto's a great addition, and it looks like he's going to be a great fit.
It's unbelievable. And then you had the feel good story of the week so far because it is early. Is the Pittsburgh Pirates are undefeated. It's the first time they've gone 5-0 since 1983.
Heck yeah!
So good for them. So there's some teams that are playing. I think the Detroit Tigers. And shout out ASU legend Torgelbert. He's a smasher for the Detroit Tigers. And
what'd you say? What was it?
Torgelson.
Yeah, all right.
I got it right.
I thought I heard a Berg in
there. There was, but I caught myself after I said
right.
it. Listen, Pittsburgh Pirates. I heard the Berg. It was there, just stuck with me.
Yeah,
but I got it right. I corrected myself.
Yeah, you did.
Your eyebrows. You're like, what, sir?
Yeah.
So either way, sorry,
yeah, but for real, ASU baseball. Yep.
Yeah, shout out ASU baseball. So there's some things happening like that, which is nice. Dude, how about the Cubbies having a rookie debut? Flirts with a no-no, K's 9 people in his debut. There's been some really cool stories happening in Major League, but with it being 162 games and the season's long, I think all that MLB is happy about is when was the last time we've talked about Ohtani and the gambling issue or anything? It's kind of like gone away because baseball's happening. Baseball's happening. And
I think
because the MLB isn't the one being the investigator now because it's the FBI and everything, it's a federal thing. They're just like, wash your hands. We're just going to go as business.
And I think
that
right now they have no reason not to believe what Ohtani's saying. Everything kind of confirms. Yep. And again, Ippei seems like quite the liar, man. The guy is, everything he seems to say. Hey, fake it till you make it. Like he lived that.
He legit lived it.
So, anyways, but yeah, I know the Diamondbacks. They are not undefeated, but they're 3-1 right now. Started out really hot. I think facing the Rockies was a part of that, but also, just the confidence coming off of last season, right? So
Absolutely.
I went to the Friday game, was not opening night. Opening night was Thursday. But on Friday, they had the ring ceremony for the National League Championship or champions, right? So they got their rings. I know some people are like, oh, there's no rings for second place, but they've been doing this for a while.
Forever.
They give out trophies. They give out rings.
You ever seen Ace Ventura?
Yeah.
AFC Championship ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Ray Finkel, get off it. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, even Alec Thomas said, it's something that, when he's older, he'll look back at it and be proud of it. But, obviously a World Series ring means more, and it would be, have a lot more bling on it. So, they should be proud of last season because, again, no one expected them to be there, right? Mad Dog, right? Mad Dog shouldn't even be working right now, right? Mad Dog was going to retire if the Diamondbacks made it. So, good for the Diamondbacks. They've got all the confidence in the world right now. They scored 16 runs in the first game. The game I went to, they started off with some hot bats, hit a couple back-to-back home runs early on. Gurriel Jr.'s looking really good. And, again, all they did was get better. You know, they added pitching, they added hitting.
Now they have a deep rotation.
They got a little younger. So, like, you know, Longoria's gone. Longoria was there to get his ring.
And I don't know they're going to miss his leadership which was great for last season, which was needed, but these guys got the experience now, and they brought in guys like, let's not forget Christian Walker, 2-time, back-to-back, Silver Slugger. Some of these guys have the locker room clout now. They've all been through it, and they went through the juggernauts of the NL to do it. So they've all built that together. So for them to get better and younger.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was just, I'm guessing he's retired now, and I'm sure he was probably looking for a team because I think he probably thinks he's still got some at-bats in him. But either way, they replaced him with Eugenio Suarez, who's not young, so he's still a good leader, but he's younger, and he's got a little more power, and then they added Jock, they added pitching. The Diamondbacks, I have them finishing, second in the NL West to the Dodgers, of course. And, and of course, the Padres could be in it, of course. So
it's all about staying healthy.
Yeah.
If everybody does what they're supposed to and staying healthy.
And if stars have big seasons, so but either way, I will say this, though. I was a little disappointed in the crowd at the Diamondbacks game. I know it wasn't opening day, but it was a Friday, so I was a little surprised. Guys, get out there and support your D-backs.
No kid. Well, I was at the game earlier in the week. I was at the very last spring training game, which they always finished up against the Cleveland Guardians. And it was a day game. And I got down there, and for it being the last spring training game and for it being a day game, the lower bowl was pretty full.
Yeah.
Like, it was surprising for that. And they treated from the staff, from everybody, this was like the final dress rehearsal before regular season. So, like, security was on point. They were taking things, like, they were doing things differently that they didn't do last year. It seemed like there was a lot more communication to be able to provide a better atmosphere for both players, fans. Everything was kind of involved. So there's some things at the ballpark that's changing for the better, and watch them kind of be able to go through it, and the streamlining of it is going to make for a good experience, both I think on TV and at the game. So shout out to them for doing what they're doing. The stadium looked great. Like I said, it was there. Shout out Bourbon and Bones being there. Last time I was there, I was looking up there. I was like, oh, is that cheeseburger cold beer? Okay. Oh, Bourbon and Bones, one of my favorite spots.
I was walking around just looking at people's food that they had,
Dude.
Cactus corn, though.
I was about to say.
Yeah, because I always go, they're my favorite snack at the park. But
if you're at the ballpark and you smell amazing popcorn or kettle corn, and you see the line, and the line around the other one, and the line around the other one, it is Cactus corn. Yeah. Shout out them. They make the best popcorn. And your favorite.
The cinnamon almonds. I love those. But yeah, either way, it's just because I can't always be like eating hot dogs every game. You know what I mean? So like if you need a little healthier choice. But again, I was looking at the food. The food at the park is amazing. And, they've, like you said, Bourbon and Bones, and, they got a coffee shop out there. They got a lot going on there. So get out there and catch a game.
Whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, they're making it more of an experience than just the game, because the ability to watch the games, whatever the sport is for the most part, from home is a more enjoyable experience than going to the game. So they have to offer something besides that. The Suns have been doing it for a long time. The Lakers did it where they had a club basically where you can party, dance, and watch and oversee the game. Football teams have been starting to do that now. Jerry's World was one of those big ones that started to do it. So there's a lot of them that are doing that now. The Diamondbacks are no different, obviously the pool being a thing. But those things matter because you got to be able to draw these people away from their televisions. And
you got to have fun players. You're not talking Kettle Corn, Keltel Marte. He's a fun player, man.
Absolutely. All right, so on the other side of the break, we're going to dive into probably some NBA, some NFL. We have all kinds of stuff. College basketball. We got everything. You're listening to KDUS 1060 Phoenix. Home of the Dan Patrick Show and the Danettes. Rich Eisen, of course, James Out West featuring Pat the Stat Guy. Make sure you guys come on back.
Welcome back to James Out West on KDUS 1060.
Thank you, CJ. Thanks for everybody hanging out with us into the night. James Out West, Pat the Stat Guy, Aaron on the other side of the glass, KDUS 1060 Phoenix. We're finishing up. Suns on the road in New Orleans playing the Pelicans again. They're about a game separating the two, and the Suns were up at 24 at one point. Now they're up 10, but boy, they had cut this to 7. There's about a minute left, so the Suns hold on, hopefully, to win this game. But let me tell you what, these fourth or second half collapses with double-digit leads is not going to get them very far in the playoffs, so they're going to have to nip that in the bud. All right, so before we get into the NBA again, let's get into more basketball, but actually from the collegiate side. So we have NCAA tournament, both men's and women's going on. We had the men's over the weekend's determination for the Final Four happen, and then the women's games had started, and then today we had finished those off. I think there's a game going on right now, if I'm not mistaken, in the female bracket, but earlier today, the game of probably the year when it comes to other than the national championship potentially for the women's college was LSU women's playing Iowa today in Albany, New York.
Yep.
Everybody knew it was going to be a heavyweight fight. Everybody said that Iowa had to play the perfect game because LSU just has more star power, more depth and everything. And basically, they did. Caitlin Clark did her thing in the first half, showing why she's the best female basketball player to come out of college in a while, which is saying something because there's a lot of talented females coming out every year. But what she's doing, there's levels to this. And she is by far levels above everybody else to a point, from her shooting to her passing to her vision on the court to getting everybody else involved. I think she ended up with 41.
Wow.
I believe she had 9 3-pointers. I mean, for being what she is, and here's the thing, what everybody's going to hold it, she's got the most pressure than of anybody, I think, in college, in female and women's college basketball to win a national championship, because of the hype around her, and she hasn't gotten one yet, and how good she is. And how good she is. Not even just the hype around her, it's because it's deserved because of how good she is.
Yeah, so she did. She had 41 and went 9 of 20 from 3.
Yeah. Now, I would say this. They did huck up some that were like, what are you doing? There's some temperature checks, but then there was some that was just like, that's an ill-advised shot, and coach is going to get you when you go to film study the next day, because that was an ill-advised. But, I mean, when you're her, how many ill-advised – I mean – they call technicals on her in practice.
Okay.
Her coach calls technicals on her in practice because that's how, when she's locked in, it's like she's got that Kobe, like, I'm not friends with anybody, including my teammates. We are here to work.
Yeah, there was the clip the other day of when she was like kind of complaining, and like it was a game or two ago.
Oh, yeah,
and
her dad
was like telling her to stop, because
that's fantastic.
Yeah, she gets locked in, So anyways, but yeah, again, just amazing shooting. Like you said, 41 points. Hooking up 29 attempts. Like, if you're going to shoot 29 attempts, get 41 points, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it was a good game. It was a back and forth game for a while, and then Iowa pulled away for a bit. LSU started to make a little bit of a push, and then Caitlin Clark squashed that, ended that down. It was a great game. Obviously, they're moving on to the Final Four, which is in Cleveland. Shout out Cleveland. It'll be at the arena that LeBron James built. And we'll see who they're going to play. Who else is going to be there? We got UConn playing USC right now. It's tied up 33, about ready to go into halftime. 17 seconds left. So, women's game obviously has caught fire. If you have us not just us talking about it, but everybody talking about it, everybody watching it. Somebody mentioned that they were at Target and they were just watching all the husbands watching this game on their phones, walking around with their wives. Like, there's a buzz to watch Caitlin Clark. Like, to turn it on, like, shout out Jane. She's a huge basketball fan to begin with, and an Iowa Hawkeye. So especially, your mom. But like, she knows, and so she's been dialed in on this girl for a while. It's interesting to see what's going to happen. And real quick, before we, get over to the men's side, let me ask you, what do you think about that? The Ice Cube offer to her for the $5 million to be able to play in the Big Three, and says it will not interfere with her playing in the WNBA. And the flip side is that I heard the WNBA would try to stop her from doing so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny that you ask me this, because I've seen other people's take on it as far as, like, could she even score in that league? Like, how would she even do in the Big Three? I just see it as like a marketing thing.
She got a quick jumper. She can get a bucket off if someone's getting double teamed.
I think she could too. Especially with some of these old guys with bad knees. You know what I mean?
She can shoot.
But again,
deep.
they're saying, like, it's 3-on-3. It's not 5-on-5. How's she going to get open? Like, how's she going to
pick and roll?
All these things.
Pick and roll.
But like, and it's half court too.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yeah.
But like, either way, like, I don't know. I mean,
I think she could score.
I mean, sure, it's a serious offer. Ice Cube's like, I'm serious, but like, I don't think he really expected her to, take the offer.
I think he.
But it brings attention to his league, so it's smart. But like, it would be cool, because like, I think there's something cool about, mixing the game, the men's and women's game. Right? We saw that with the 3-point competition with Steph. And so, like, it would be kind of cool to see her in it. I would watch it. It would bring more intrigue to that. And yeah, I think I'm kind of split on this idea of, like, I get it. Like, could she score on some of these, former NBA players who are 6'7", and above and have all kinds of crazy athleticism? And, it's them that are saying this. It's former NBA players that are saying, no way she could score in the big three, right? And so they're proud of who they are and what they've accomplished, and they're kind of like fraternity. They do not believe Caitlin Clark can score on them. But I'm like, dude, some of you guys are 40, 45. Like, she's scoring. I think she can, do a step back and score on Birdman. Like, who says she can't? So,
well, and look at it like this, man. You're telling me that in an offer of $5 million and a league where she's going to make $76,535 for her first year and $78,066 for her second year is going to prevent her from doing a $5 million deal with another league. Most of these girls go play in Russia and go play in other leagues besides the WNBA.
Yeah, I mean,
shout out Brittany Griner. She was in prison. She wasn't over there on vacation. She was over there playing basketball.
Yeah.
Like the top player right now is Erica Wheeler, making $242,000 a year. That's a good salary.
Yeah.
$5 million.
Yeah.
Like to wrap that around. Now, granted, she's still going to have the NIL money, or not NIL. It'll just be endorsement money. Just be endorsements. She's going to get that regardless where she goes. I think it's ridiculous for a league who has parameters. They couldn't pay her more money if they wanted to. They can't say, you know what, because you're Caitlin Clark and you're bringing all these eyes, we're going to give you, share of ticket sales. Like, they can't do it.
Right.
They're stuck into their own parameters based on their revenue sharing. All of those things that all the lawyers work on. They can't do anything more for her.
Well, yeah. I mean, certainly.
Other than endorsements.
You came into this conversation with more info than I had. I did not look up salaries or anything.
I was doing this while you were talking. I didn't come into it more.
But either way, of course, the money is intriguing, right? But I do wonder with endorsements, right? She's got these endorsements from the NCAA college game, right? That's where she gained her fame. Like, does she get better endorsements being in the WNBA? Does Nike want her in the WNBA over the big three?
I think they would want her in everything they could get her in for the advertising. She'll be playing against the men. We got to get her own signature shoe. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I 100% believe so.
Put her in the Drew League, yeah.
Now, here's what's crazy, and it just made me think about this. So you had Caleb Williams, who was like, allegedly, what's part ownership of a team. We heard that rumor, right? And we're like, that's ridiculous. But for like somebody like a Caitlin Clark, where they're only going to make $76,000 a year, like the team that drafts her, if she was to say, hey, I want a deferred partial controlling percentage of the team or revenue down the road, like, I don't think people would question it.
Yeah, that's actually.
I think people would be like,
smart.
Would be like, well, they're not making a lot of money. I mean, she's making $76,000 a year. Yeah. Shout out QT. Yeah. Their managers make more.
She'll own a team before A-Rod does.
Yeah, at that rate, because they'd have to give it to her. Yeah, shout out A-Rod. That fell through. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying.
Sorry, boys. Yeah. Sorry that happened. So yeah, she's transcending the game, and we've had that before from women's college to the pros. We've had people do that, but not at her level. Right. And that's a shout out to the game changing, more of a, like my dad said, shout out Pops, it transcends. My dad is not your typical women's college basketball demographic at all.
Definitely not.
I've mentioned this. But what he said he loves the most is watching them girls break ankles when they shake and bake and they go around. And he's like, because he likes watching fundamental basketball. He doesn't like watching one-on-one ISO basketball. He likes watching the game being played. And I've said it for a while, the women's game is more fundamental, which is fun to watch if that's what you like. But if you want like athleticism and athletic ability, NBA all day long, I get you. But if you want to watch like fun, entertaining basketball that's fundamentally sound,
whatever.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, I'm off.
Since still. I'm not sure we'll ever talk about the women's game ever again, I am on board with the let's lower the hoops. You just lower. If they added dunking, the game would be just as good. I can't lie. I'm a big fan of a lot of women's sports, but the sports that I'm a fan of, nothing is taken away in the women's game. Women's tennis, there's nothing taken away from the men's game. Women's soccer, nothing's taken away. The dunk is taken away in women's basketball. It just is. Yeah. Lower the hoops.
They're playing in the 50s. They're playing in the 50s.
But I get it, like the fundamental basketball. And I think that's something about the college game in general. Like I've noticed, I didn't watch a lot of college basketball this season, but I did this weekend, and I have been lately. And I do notice there is a lot of differences in the college game in general compared to the NBA game. So it's interesting.
It is. All right, so let's talk about the men's side real quick before we end up at the break. Surprising that UConn's there? No. Duke getting beat, that's a surprise. That's the surprise, right? Purdue doing what everybody thought they were going to do last year and they're living up to the hype.
Yeah.
Is kind of it's a surprise. Like we expected them to do it, but for them to
Caitlin
actually
Clark
fulfill
40, Zach Edey got 40.
Yeah,
so.
and for them to fulfill that, and that's a guy. Listen, Zach Edey, for as big as he is, he plays a lot. Like he's up and down the court quite a bit. Like for his size, for his game, it will translate to the NBA. Like you were saying a while ago, maybe not so much on the offensive side. He might have to figure some things out, but on the defensive side, because he's got the stamina. The dude's got stamina. He can get up and down the court for being 7'15" and being 400 pounds and being chiseled.
But to be honest, I do think so now because he lost a little weight. He looks slimmer from last year.
He does look slimmer from last year.
I do remember last year going into the draft, the knock on Zach Edey was that he was slow and that he couldn't, keep up with the fast pace of the game. And they were comparing him, and I don't know if you'll remember this conversation, but I was like, this is crazy. His comparison is such a good player. Why wouldn't you want this guy on your team?
You did say that.
It was Yao Ming.
That's
they were comparing him to Yao
that.
Ming. I'm like, you're telling me you don't want Yao Ming on your team? I don't care if, like, in today's game, it might take him, 50 seconds to get down. I guess, I'm just kidding. But, like, you know what I mean? It's like he takes most of the shot clock to get down there, but when he gets there, he's 7'4" and he's got touch, but he did look like he lost some weight. He cut the net without using the ladder. That's how
awesome.
Massive this dude is. So I thought that was cool to see. But yeah, if we get the UConn-Purdue matchup, which is very possible, I mean, that's why we can't have a show that night, man. You're going to be there.
No.
That's
we
what I'm
already
saying,
are not.
I've got to watch that game.
This is the announcement. We will not have a show next week because of the national championship. We will be back the following week. I will be there at the national championship, so follow us on Instagram and all those good things to be able to catch all the stuff in the pregame. I'll be there Saturday for part of it. Part of it I won't, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, I'm excited. Shout out to, tied to ASU, Dan Hurley and them, put it together. So, maybe back
the
to
Hurley
back.
family coaching
back
tree.
to back would be pretty awesome. All right, you guys listen to James Out West on KDUS 1060 Phoenix, home of NAU football. Go Lumberjacks. Aaron's favorite ASU baseball, and of course, your revamped and reloaded Las Vegas Raiders. Shout out Bowers. Make sure you guys come on back.
Welcome back to James Out West on KDUS 1060.
Thank you, CJ, for hanging out with us into the night. James Out West, Pat the Stat Guy, Aaron on the side of the glass. Suns finish off the New Orleans Pelicans 124-111. Booker drops 52. First player since Wilt Chamberlain to hit 50 in 3 straight games versus the same team. So he's got their number right now, which he may need it because they could face themselves. They could be facing each other in the playoffs in the second round. They could be facing each other in the play-in tournament, depending on what's going on. But the Suns, for the last 5 games, have basically won every other game. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. It started with the San Antonio Spurs with the win, and then follow up to lose to them without Wemby. That's embarrassing. Then to beat Denver in Denver, awesome. And then to lose again right after that. So, they're playing this roller coaster. They've got quite the gauntlet of games coming up, which we will get into. All right, so finishing up NCAA college basketball. UConn looking to try to make it back-to-back NCAA championships. Dan Hurley, brother to Bobby Hurley, ASU's head coach. He's upset. He's an amazing coach. He's got them obviously just rolling, like you said. There's some amazing stuff that happens. I had the game on. It was Saturday, and I remember the game was tied at 26. And then my cousin, shout out Birdman, he came over and we were hanging out, sipping some whiskey, trying some bourbon, and I turned around and looked, and it was 61-30. What the hell happened? And I saw 30-0 run. What?
Yeah.
That just blew me away.
That was insane. There was so many dunks too. It was unbelievable. It was so much fun to watch, and especially since I lived in Connecticut for a little bit, played on travel basketball in Connecticut. It's a basketball state. It was a lot of fun to. I've heard that those Connecticut fans are a little hard to deal with though back there. So but yeah. Anyways, that 30-point run was insane to watch. I was starting to believe Mike Greenberg's statement that they could make the Eastern Conference playoffs when I was watching that because they were unreal. And they have a big man too. They've got a lot of really good players. I'm blanking on that big man's name because I always suck at saying his last name. Donovan Klingen.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of good big guys left, and just either way, UConn's rolling. It will be fun to see. Hopefully, I hope we get to see UConn Purdue. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stats coming from UConn because again, like you said, they've been rolling, and last year I think. A lot of people are saying that last year was the most dominant tournament run of all time because they won every game by double digits.
That's crazy.
And guess what? They've done the same thing this year. So now it's 10 games in a row that they've won NCAA tournament games by double digits. So, and then again, and then
That's
there was
dominating.
Yeah, and then if you go back to the Big East tournament, it's 13 tournament games, elimination type games that they've won. So they're built for this type of stuff.
And it's not even just dominating; it's staying focused for the entire game. Like coach has these guys all on the same page, at one organism, rowing the boat the same way.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to throw in there, cliche wise, but they are all dialed into one another and being the best basketball organism on the court, and it shows.
Yeah.
And if they continue to do this, they can, they draw the seed of playing Alabama.
Yep.
I don't think anybody's got Alabama in this game. Alabama was 25-11
they are
on the
a 1
season.
seed, aren't they?
Alabama's a 4 seed.
Oh, are they? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I mean, granted, Purdue playing NC State, you know what I mean? And NC State being an 11 seed, but NC State's that with their guy, DJ Burns Jr., you know what I mean? That they're juggernaut. Like you said, this is a tournament of bigs right now.
Yeah.
You got, Purdue's big man,
Zach Edey, yep.
Yao Edey. You got Yao Edey.
You got
you got DJ BJ. You got Klingensmith or
Something like
Klingenbang
that,
or whatever.
yeah.
And then you got a bunch of bigs that are and they're playing great basketball.
Yeah.
So it should make for an entertaining Final Four, which is here on Saturday in the Valley. 3:09 tip off.
I'll tell you who's got the most experience though. It's your boy DJ Burns Jr. He's 23 years old,
bro.
Right? That's older than Anthony Edwards.
So that's a funny thing because you were talking about he's older than Anthony Edwards. So let's say Anthony was a
Edwards,
senior.
22. DJ Burns Jr. 23.
Anthony Edwards has been in the league for like 4 years.
Yeah,
it feels
he's
like
dominating
the
league.
So shout out him. Imagine what he'd be doing in the tournament. You said, hey, I bet he could
take right because he went to Georgia. Yeah,
right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So yeah, like we were saying, like he was on Georgia. Like if he was in the, he would, if he wasn't in the league, if he stayed and just made that, NIT money, which actually it could have actually been a decent thing. If
NIL would have made him some money.
NIL money, because NIT is where Georgia is currently. They're in that tournament, so they're the 4 seed in that tournament. I'm saying you put Ant on that team, they probably make it to the Final Four in the big tournament. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, but think about that though. Hey, if you go win national championship after national championship, that NIL money might be pretty nice. I wonder if that could be a lucrative thing to just be a dominant college player these days. But
it's going to be. It's going to continue to be. It's going to become more of a normal thing. Which, you know what? In the long run, with the amount of players that actually make it professionally, both men and especially women, because there just isn't many leagues that pay enough to make a living at. Yeah. Their dreams of playing any further for a lot of them end in college or have to rely on overseas or Olympics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you do have those types of things. Watching where it's going, you're going to have people that are going to be smart enough that are going to save that money, do things, play the 5 years. You're going to have offensive linemen that know, hey, I'm 6'1", I'm 240 pounds, I'm not fast, I'm not anything. I'm going to go to the combine, but I probably will not make the league. But I'm going to get an NIL deal with this dealership for a truck. I'm going to get an NIL deal with this, and and so on and so forth. Get the money here. I'm going to invest it. There are going to be people that are being more set up for their futures and giving back to their community because of the NIL. It far outweighs the bad things.
Well, there's like that kid at Duke. He's Jared McCain. He had 2. He's the first freshman with 2 25-plus point games in the tournament, right? Like, I think a lot of people expect him to go back to Duke next year, right? So, like, what's his NIL money look like, right? And what if he, goes and wins a championship next year and then stays even again? Like, he could make so much money in college. And
that's what a lot of them are going to do, especially if they have, like, you look at the WNBA and you look at those girls, like, especially because there's more eyes on the game now. Mm-hmm. If you have these players that are marketable, which they are, and not just on a regional level. Because, at LSU and at South Carolina and in Indiana and at Nebraska, in the Omaha area, those girls are getting deals. But, like, some of them are getting national deals. Mm-hmm. And some are going to be able to carry that on. So it's like, hey, if they're able to make $75,000 to $100,000 a year in college and play 5 years, you know what I mean, and be smart enough to be able to – I don't think she's going to be rolling on a Benz with 24s, gripping wood grain and stuff. Okay. So I think they're going to be smart. Yeah, I think they're going to be smart with their money. I think it's a great thing, and it's something that should have been happening. Like, you had a guy that was a punter at UCF, Florida. He goes by the YouTube name Destroying. And Destroying balls, right? You've heard of him. He's got a big YouTube following. He makes these videos. He makes a lot of money on YouTube. NCAA before this was having none of it, and he chose that over college football because he was making money.
Right.
Now he's playing in the USFL/XFL. Shout out him. But the point was he was like, no, I'm sticking with what I want to do.
Right.
Now these guys can do that. Now
Right.
these guys can do that and generate money and generate revenue for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there had to be those people that were sacrificed. I hate to use that term in this day and age, but that had to fall on the gauntlet. They had to say, I'm going to choose this path. Maurice Clarett went about it the wrong way at the wrong time, but essentially was saying, you shouldn't be able to prevent me from making money.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we're not. We have rules, and it says you can't play until here.
Yeah.
That's really should have been suing the
Yeah,
NCAA
that's
for saying
true.
you can't make money.
But at the same time, it's not going to compare to that NBA money.
No, it's not. No, but for some of those guys that are never going to play in the NBA, they're going to have to go play over in Europe, going to go play in Serbia, they're going to go to Italy, they're going to go to France, they're going to go to Puerto Rico, chasing teams all year round to go back home and
But
stay
there
for
also,
4 months.
There are those guys
You
who
may
are
want that.
superstars in college and just decent NBA players.
Sure, Dougie McBuckets.
You know, so like
Doug McDermott.
Yeah, like exactly. Guys like that, like maybe, nowadays they would make more just staying in college. Or they probably would have. Doug McDermott would have probably made more in college than in the NBA if it was, now.
I mean, think about these guys that would have had the opportunity to make that kind of money if there was ability just 10 years ago.
I mean,
guys
yeah,
that
like
would've-
first off, Doug McDermott might not be the best example, but like
he was a college star. Grayson Allen.
Well, yeah, the Tyler Hansboroughs of the world, like all
Psycho
those guys.
T. Yeah, absolutely, those guys. Tyler Hansbrough is a great example
Yeah.
of a guy but he had an okay NBA career. They played like 7 or 8 years. But you're right, like those guys, like Mike Conley Jr., what he'd have got when he was killing it, because in college they were bigger than life. Greg Oden was bigger than life in college. Like you got some of these guys and gals, but like Cheryl Miller in college, what she would have pulled, like the UConn team back when Diana Taurasi and all them, like looking all back at those, and obviously we talked football, Johnny Manziel and all those things, like what those guys would have demanded. Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart at the time of what USC was doing, the type of money that they would have been pulling
Right now,
in
I'm just trying to
endorsements.
think like of who is the NBA's or college basketball's version of like Reggie Bush. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's like a Kyrie or someone like that. I don't know.
But he only played like 11 games. You got to think like
That's true.
who was there? Zion Williams.
Oh, there
Zion.
you go. Zion would have made
Zion made a ton of money because, dude, they were showing. I mean, they were cutting to him specifically, like going to those Duke games, like regular on TV, like they were making it known.
I mean, he probably still did make bank in college, but yeah.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
That's true too. But yeah, there's a
Everyone
lot of those
knows
guys.
Shaq got rich in college.
A lot
That's
of those
a
guys.
Basketball reference. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of those guys. It's very interesting that could go down. But the college NCAA tournament being here, the Final Four finishing up here in Phoenix, the 2 games on Saturday, the championship game on Monday. While we would normally be on the radio, you're going to be watching it and probably doing some content from it. I'll be there watching it, taking it all in. We won't have a show, so we'll come back the next week and kind of report on all that and everything that's going on in sports. Obviously, there'll be more baseball. By then, basketball should be about – regular season will be almost over or about over, so we're going to have a lot to talk about, which is always a good thing. You guys have been listening to James Out West on KDUS 1060 Phoenix. Make sure to subscribe us on YouTube. Make sure you just search James Out West AZ. And as always, jamesoutwest.com for more sports shenanigans, entertainment, all that good stuff. And make sure you guys come back for the final segment. We're going to wrap this thing up with some NFL talk, maybe a little bit of NBA. Make sure you guys come on back.
US 1060.
Thank you, CJ. Thanks for everybody hanging out with us into the night. James All West, Pat the Stat Guy, KDUS 1060, Phoenix. All right, so before the show is over, we've got a little bit to talk about. Obviously, NBA, NFL usually dominates our conversations, but NBA real quick. So the playoff race is obviously real tight. We said with the Suns' victory tonight, puts them a half game behind the Pelicans for the 6th spot. Right now, they're in the tournament, so getting to the 6th spot is crucial. So they don't have to play any unwarranted games, any games they don't need to play to secure a spot. If they were able to do that and secure the 6, as it would stand today, they'd play the Timberwolves. Mm-hmm. Who they play, I think, twice before the end of the regular season.
Right. I believe it's what, Friday, and then I think it's the last game of the season in Minnesota.
Yes, correct.
Yep. Because I wanted to go to that game. So.
Yeah, hey, you still could. But Pat, we were talking about it and kind of what's going on. Boy, there's a couple of teams here I'm worried about that may not make it. Like, the Warriors, obviously, your Lakers are, a slip up away. The Suns are a slip up away. The Kings are a slip up away. I mean, if honestly, the Mavericks are a 2 or 3 game, losing streak from being out there, and they're the 5 seed. It is just incredible kind of how tight everything is in the West.
Yeah. I was going to give you a couple stats because, we look at 11 right there is the Houston Rockets. And speaking of 11, the Rockets win streak comes to an end at 11 thanks to the Mavericks and Luka dropping 47. So their streak ends at 11. You also had Wemby and Brunson both getting career highs. Wemby got the win and dropped 40. Brunson got 61, a career high. That is one shy of the Knicks franchise record at 62, which is Carmelo.
Shout out Melo.
And I will say that Brunson 61, he did it on 6 free throws. 6 of 6 from the line. He only made 6 free throws. So that's crazy to me.
He's a mid-jumper guy, too. Yeah. He's a mid-jumper guy, too. His game is ridiculous.
Is fun to watch. Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun to watch.
Where did he go to college at?
Oh, my God. You're going to put...
UConn or Villanova?
Villanova.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm picturing in my head, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I think all of the Knicks went to Villanova, apparently. So, yeah. But, yeah, either way, so those are crazy stats. Other big news is Joel Embiid's supposed to be coming back, right?
Right. So, that is huge for the Philadelphia 76ers.
I think he's been out since
push.
January 30th with a meniscus, injury, left meniscus, I believe. So, yeah, he's supposed to come back sometime this week. That's huge and obviously shakes up the whole playoff picture. So, and then the next thing was LeBron had a big game, right? Dropped 40 and made 9 threes, which tied a career record.
9 of 10. He went 13 of 17 from the floor.
Or not a career high for threes, I should say.
Yeah, this is what's great. So LeBron says, I don't ever have to lean on 3-pointers because I can do so much. I can score on any level of the floor basically once I cross half court. I obviously being the,
he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. No, he's not. But I just love that that's how he's just very open. It's like, it's like, hey, I'm just, it's my body, I'm just like, I take care of, I was lucky, a couple of things. He's like, I don't even have to do this.
Yeah.
I chose to do this tonight. I love that he's still like, his trash talk it's like, some of these guys have deadly trash talk. And like LeBron's trash talk is kind of like, he's like the Will Smith of trash talk, I feel like. Like he's kind of corny.
Yeah.
Like he's the best at what he does, but he's kind of corny.
Yeah.
But that was just like the fact that he's like, I don't even have to do this. I can just do so much. Basically from here, I'm unstoppable. This is all true.
Yeah.
This is all true.
Right. It's like subtle ways to just remind people
or
about
not
how
so
good
subtle.
He is too, right? Because he's also came out, I think it was recently, it might have been that same interview where he said, he knows his time is up. He doesn't have a lot of time left. And of course, for LeBron, we don't know what that means. Does that mean 3 years? I don't know. It doesn't. But I think it's also a way of saying like, look, guys, I'm getting old. I'm doing this and I'm old. I'm doing this and I don't have much time left, right? Like there's a little bit of like, look at me. So, but yeah, I don't know what not having much time left means for LeBron James. I do think he's going to see what happens with Bronny.
He's definitely going to play next season. Yeah. I don't think this is going to be the end of LeBron James's career in the NBA. Yeah.
But as far as 40, he's got to pass Jordan on this 40 points thing. So
he's going to get one more.
As far as guys scoring 40, 39 at the age of 39 or above, Jordan has 3 and LeBron has 2 now. So 2 more 40-point games and he'll pass Jordan in that one.
My goodness. All right. So you have anything else, NBA?
No, I think that's it.
All right, so let's jump into the NFL before the show is over. NFL handed out their annual player performance bonuses. So they handed out an additional $393.8 million in performance-based bonuses. The program compensates players based on their playing time and salary levels with the intent to give additional money to players who performed beyond their contracts. Probably the most famous guy in the NFL to outperform his contract would be Brock Purdy.
Makes sense.
So that resulted in an additional paycheck of $739,795, which comes out to about 75% of what his salary was last year. The additional check ranks as the 24th largest payout this year. That's the 24th largest payout.
Right.
Like, think about that. Like, so the 23 other guys got more than that.
Is it percentage-wise?
Percentage based on also what they were making, where they were at, and all of those things.
Exactly.
So that's a nice thing to have happen because there's, again, like we were talking about the WNBA, they're legally contracted to only pay him so much. Same thing in the NFL. Like they're only legally contracted to pay him as much as they are. Like they can't give him any more. They can't even negotiate with him yet because this is just the way that it works.
Well, he's got a endorsement deal with Toyota and Alaska Airlines. So
good. He's going to need those. He's going to need every bit of it. But other guys that got stuff like Philadelphia Eagles safety Reed Blankenship, dude, he got a cool $925,000. Cincinnati Bengals guard Cordell Volson got another $905,000. So it's nice to see these guys get these checks that, this is a nice time of the year to get it too. They're still in the offseason. All of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, we'd like to know your direct deposit, please. Why? We have a check for a cool $750,000. Sweet. Yeah. Like, that's really awesome. So I want to shout out them. And then we talked about, revenge games because obviously there's a lot of movement in the NFL, which happens every year.
Yeah.
And for the 6th week in a row.
Oh, my God. All right.
We are bringing up Mr. Russell Wilson because he is with Aaron's and Donnie D from the Berg. Shout out Donnie, miss you, Donnie. Philadelphia.
That will be a big
Philadelphia Steelers, and they are playing the Denver Broncos this year.
Wait, what? You said Philadelphia. You meant
sorry,
Pittsburgh.
I meant
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Because,
Sorry.
you're throwing me
I
off.
meant Pittsburgh. Sorry.
All right.
Pittsburgh playing Denver. Shout out Big Russ going back to be able to play that, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes down. You got Saquon Barkley, who signed with the Eagles. They played the Giants twice.
Yeah.
So it's seeing how that's going to go. Another running back that did the same exact thing that he did in the same division, Aaron Jones, leaving Green Bay to go to Minnesota. So you have those. They played twice. Yeah. So you got a lot of guys that are revenge games that are going to play their former team that they played with last year.
Yeah, no, that's exciting.
So of those,
there's probably more out there that we're not aware of.
I'm
that,
sure there's more.
They haven't come up with the schedule yet, right?
So we know who's playing who. We just don't know when.
Okay.
What we do know is that the first week of the season, we're going to have a game on Thursday night because they always open the season on Thursday. We're going to have the first ever opening weekend Friday night game.
Okay.
Which is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles hosting, check my notes, somebody slipped, and I believe it's going to be the Cleveland Browns in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Yeah.
And then they're going to leave Saturday for college. Thank you, NFL.
Wait.
And then opening Sunday.
You're telling me it's going to be a bunch of people from Cleveland and Philadelphia out in Brazil?
I don't think none of them are going. I think it's going to be all the people in Brazil watching these games.
Yeah, okay.
But so we're going to have
I don't know, man.
opening.
I feel like fans travel well, I know it's not Europe, but they travel well when the games are in London. And
they do.
I think the Olympics, there will be a lot of Americans out there. Why wouldn't they travel to Rio de Janeiro,
This is true. I feel like that's a trip that takes a while to plan, and it's like the first week of the season. It's not like a game in November, December over in Germany.
Hey, they're going to love Brazilian barbecue. All those people from Philly.
This is true. It's going to be interesting to see. Another one. We talked about another guy that did that, though. Remember David Montgomery did it last year. He left Chicago, went to Detroit. Yeah. They played each other twice. So you do have these guys that have flipped around to where they're going and who they're playing. We've got the other NFL news. You had
Ravens don't play the Titans, do they?
That's a good question. I have to look and see if they do or not. But a couple of other things. You had obviously, on a sad note, you had Vontae Davis, played 10 years in the NFL, 2 Pro Bowls. He passed away at the age of 35 today. Kind of unexpected, obviously. I think people would say that was very unexpected.
Yeah.
Was with the Dolphins, with the Bills, and I believe the Colts. So, shout out to his family in this tough time. I know that he was a stud player. People loved him from everything that was said.
Yeah, and his NFL family.
And his NFL family, absolutely. And then, we have – all right, so because the draft's coming up, you had the pro day had just went down with Caleb Williams. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Basically just stayed in the pocket and threw the ball, just like hey, I can make moves on the run. Let me show you what I got.
Yeah.
He from on the field standpoint, he's special, they say. I think that the draft class seems pretty it's not like every year there's hype. There's hype, but these guys have warranted hype. Like Michael Penix Jr. might be the most accurate passer in this whole group.
You've been saying that.
The head coach of your Minnesota Vikings said accuracy is the most important thing to him in this draft. Yeah. Jaden Daniels also is very accurate.
Had quite the completion percentage and accuracy.
So there's a lot of guys that were accurate in college, but were they accurate in college? Were they accurate in college because everybody was open because it's college? Were they accurate because they were throwing people open? Either way, it doesn't matter. All right, so next week we are not on, folks. So make sure to catch up with us the following week on Twitter at James_Out_West, IG James_Out_West, and at Pat the Stat Guy, throwing out videos that are getting millions and millions of views. Make sure you guys check us out. Pat, got anything?
Nope. Thanks for listening.
Man. One love.
Peace.